The factory floor had stopped breathing. Conveyor belts still moved, machines still hummed, but something invisible was bleeding the place dry, and everyone could feel it. $2 million a day was vanishing, silently and relentlessly, like water draining through a cracked foundation. Executives blamed markets, managers blamed workers, workers blamed exhaustion. But on that cold morning, before lunch had even arrived, a single dad with grease on his hands and worry in his eyes noticed something no spreadsheet ever could. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet heroes who change lives without asking for attention, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Ethan Cole never planned to be a hero. He planned to survive. Since his wife passed away 2 years earlier, survival had become a daily calculation measured in school lunches, rent deadlines, and the soft breathing of his 6-year-old daughter asleep beside him every night. The factory job wasn't glamorous, but it paid just enough, and more importantly, it was steady. Ethan showed up early, left late, and spoke little. Not because he lacked confidence, but because life had taught him that quiet observation was often safer than loud opinions. The factory itself was enormous, a steel labyrinth of noise and heat, built decades ago and patched together by temporary fixes and forgotten upgrades. Recently, profits had collapsed. Machines were failing at strange intervals, raw material waste had skyrocketed, and shipments were being rejected for microscopic defects. Consultants came and went. Meetings dragged on. Charts filled screens. Nothing changed. Every day the loss number grew larger, heavier, more terrifying. Layoffs whispered through the halls like a coming storm. Ethan felt that fear differently than most. He had no backup plan, no savings cushion, no partner to lean on. Losing this job didn't just mean starting over, it meant his daughter's world cracking apart. So he paid attention. He listened to the rhythm of the machines like a heartbeat. He noticed when the floor vibrated slightly out of sync. He noticed the smell of overheated metal lingering just a bit too long near one production line. He noticed a tiny shimmer on finished steel sheets that most eyes dismissed as lighting. That morning, Ethan was assigned to inspect a batch near the old rolling press, a machine older than many of the supervisors. As he leaned closer, he saw something that made his chest tighten. A sliver of metal, no bigger than a fingernail, was embedded where it shouldn't be, scraping imperceptibly against each sheet as it passed. Not enough to cause obvious damage, but enough to weaken the product, enough to create microscopic fractures that only appeared later during shipping or stress tests. One tiny flaw, repeated thousands of times an hour, multiplied into millions of dollars in losses. His hands shook slightly as he realized what it meant. This wasn't a market issue. This wasn't worker laziness. This was a silent mechanical betrayal, hiding in plain sight. He followed the path backward, tracing the source, finding worn components that had been flagged for replacement years ago but never addressed due to budget cuts. The factory wasn't failing because people didn't care. It was failing because the smallest details had been ignored for too long. Ethan knew the risk of speaking up. He was not an engineer. He was not management. He was a widowed father with a time card. But he also knew what silence cost. So before lunch, with oil still staining his sleeves, he reported the issue, not with anger or accusation, but with calm certainty and evidence gathered from careful observation. What happened next felt unreal. Production was halted on that line. Senior engineers swarmed the area. Tests were run. And slowly, painfully, the truth became undeniable. The defect explained nearly everything. Once corrected, waste dropped almost immediately. Quality stabilized. Shipments passed inspection. The bleeding slowed, then stopped. By the end of the week, the factory wasn't losing money anymore. It was recovering. By the end of the month, it was profitable again. And Ethan, the quiet man who noticed what no one else did, was called into an office he had never been invited into before. He didn't walk in expecting praise. He walked in expecting trouble. That was how life had trained him. Instead, he walked out with a promotion, a raise, and something far more valuable, security. For the first time since his wife's death, the future didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a possibility. He could afford better childcare. He could fix the leak in his apartment ceiling. He could breathe. But the most powerful change wasn't financial. It was internal. Ethan realized that his pain, his loneliness, his constant vigilance hadn't broken him. They had sharpened him. Being a single dad had taught him to notice small things, to care deeply, to understand that tiny problems ignored today become disasters tomorrow. The same instincts that kept his daughter safe had saved an entire factory. The factory, in turn, changed too. Maintenance schedules were rewritten. Workers were encouraged to speak up. The culture shifted from blame to awareness. Losses had nearly destroyed the place, but humility rebuilt it. And every time Ethan walked the floor, he saw people standing a little straighter, paying a little more attention, believing that their voices mattered. If this story is touching something inside you right now, if it reminds you of quiet effort, unseen struggles, or the strength it takes just to keep going, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who might need encouragement today. Your engagement helps these stories reach hearts that are still fighting silently. Before the ending, we have one special request for you. Please comment below and tell us what part of this story moved you the most, or share your own experience of being overlooked but not defeated. Your words may inspire someone who feels invisible right now. Ethan never became famous. There were no headlines, no interviews, no applause. But every morning, when he dropped his daughter off at school and watched her run toward her future without fear, he knew something profound. Sometimes saving the day doesn't look heroic. Sometimes it looks like paying attention when everyone else is too busy to notice. And sometimes, the people holding everything together are the ones the world almost forgets. If this story stayed with you, if it made you feel seen, hopeful, or emotional, please engage with this video before you leave. Like, comment, and subscribe. Because kindness, resilience, and quiet courage deserve to be remembered.